Hello chess friends, welcome to the new video chess lesson. In this video chess lesson we will cover Endgames Knight versus Pawn, and this will be the last lesson about the chapter so-called Basic Endgames. After that I will start to publish videos which will cover minor pieces endgames. Also periodically I will publish videos which will cover either some important chess events or to cover some interesting chess stories all around the world. So if you like to see anything specific in my channel, please put a comment in any of my videos and I will try to do it. So also don't forget to like my videos, to share the content, and also to subscribe to my channel. Endgames Knight versus Pawn are much more difficult than endgames Bishop versus Pawn, because both king and knight move in short steps. In this position we see that white king is far away from black's pawn, but anyway this endgame is drawn and knight is strong enough to keep draw in this position. Simply after king c2, knight a3, you will see how king and the knight will just circle around the pawn and attack each other in turn, and neither side can make any progress. King a2, knight c3, and if of course king goes back to b3 we just have repetition and no progress, and if king goes to a1 for example, we see now how black king is trapped in the corner, and then simple king g7 move will force black to push the pawn forward, promote, and then after knight captures the queen the game is of course completely drawn. In this position we will see how knight can have a lots of trouble to fight against the edge file pawn. When knight needs to fight against edge file pawn, it means that knight should be very close to the corner, and we already know that knight is very bad piece when it is placed in the corner. It is very logical because the possibility of movement for the knight which is in the corner or around the corner is very much reduced. Here, if for example it is black on the move, after a3 there is no chance for white to save this game because knight cannot stop the pawn from further advancing and promoting, and here black will win the game. In this example we also have knight fighting against edge file pawn, but the difference is that black king is close to the pawn and the knight, and thanks to that fact white is able to save this game and to have draw using very useful knight maneuver which will create forking threats all the time. Let's see. After knight c3 check, king c4, knight goes back to a4 trying to blockade the pawn of course, and after king b4 knight goes back to b6. After king b5 move, now it is not possible to check the king, and it is also not possible anymore to put the knight in front of the pawn. So it may look like that this endgame will be now winning for black, because knight is not able to achieve anything what knight usually has to do, but that's not true. There is great move knight d5 now, and after a4 there is this wonderful fork. Thanks to this fork it's not possible for black to advance the pawn further on, and after knight c3, king b4, knight takes a4, the game is of course drawn. If black hesitates to advance his pawn and start to continue maneuvering with his king, we will see that it's not possible simply to make any progress. White will always have enough room to either check the king or to place the knight in front of the pawn. And when this position again appears, great move knight d5 again threats the same fork, and all over again the position is drawn. This example will show to us how endgames knight versus pawn can be very tricky and complicated. Here it is white on the move, this black's pawn is far advanced and is close to the promotion square, and white is trying to make a draw in this game. He has only two available moves with his knight. knight g6 and knight f7. Most of the players would definitely first try to calculate knight g6 move because that move is optically closer to the pawn. But let's see what is going on if you play knight g6. This move will lose the game. h3, knight f4, h2, knight e2 check, with the idea to go to g3 and stop the promotion. But after king d2, knight g3, and king e1, we see that white king is far away to help his knight, and white will lose the game. Black easily wins king g2, king e5, king takes the knight, and after king f4, simply king g2 and promotion in the next move. So optically better move in the first position, knight g6 will not be good enough. But knight f7 is much better move. Let's see why. After h3, knight g5 attacking the pawn, and after h2, the check comes to knight e4, so to e4 square. Black now has three different options: king d3, king c2, or king d4. Let us start with king d3. Now black has wonderful move knight g3. Let us see why is this move wonderful. Well, it creates a great barrier for black king which will stop him to approach closer. For example, knight directly controls e2 and e4 square. And two other squares, king e3 and king d2, are bad for black, because if that happens, knight will just go to f1 and fork the king and the pawn, win the pawn, and the game is immediately drawn. Since this barrier is created, it means that black king needs to use the path all the way around to attack the knight, but that will give enough time to white king to defend the knight, and once it happens, the game is drawn. Black can try something, few more moves, but simply no chance to make progress. The game is of course easily drawn. Another option after knight e4 check was king c2. In that case, again great move knight g3, and now there is enough time for white king to approach closer to defend the knight, because we see that white king needs three moves, and exactly in three moves black king will be able to attack the knight, which means that the game is easily drawn and all will be the same according to the previous setup. And finally, the most complicated move is if king d4 is played. Now it would be a mistake to play knight g3, because after king e5, king c6, king f4, knight h1, king f3, white king is still far away and will not be able here to reach the desired f2 square and to have draw. He can reach only f3 unfortunately, and after king g1 black promotes and easily wins. That is why wonderful move is knight f2. Look what a great barrier we have again. Again, knight controls d3 and d4, but if king goes to e3 or e5, there is a fork knight g4 and the pawn is lost. So again, there is different path for black king which he has to use. King c3, king d6, king d2, king e5, king e2. And after knight h1, if black king plays king f1, then the draw is the same like earlier, it's very simple. But if black plays better move king f3, now white king must be very careful. It would be big mistake to go to f5. If that happens, black will win the game, but the draw will be after king d4. The reason is that white king is able to reach f2 square in time and the game is drawn. So this example explained to us how knight versus pawn endgames really can be complicated. And this is the last position in knight versus pawn endgames. When we started to learn endgames basic basic endgames minor piece versus pawn, we said that the main difference between major piece versus pawn and minor piece versus pawn endgames was in that which side is trying to win the game. And we said that major piece is trying to win, the pawn is fighting for a draw, and when we have minor piece versus pawn, then minor piece is fighting for a draw and the pawn is fighting to win the game. This is a very rare example in which everything is completely different, and now white is trying to win the game with his knight only and black is fighting for a draw. The reason why white will be able to win in this game is that both black king and the pawn are close to the corner, and white will win by playing king c2, forcing black to play only one available move, king a1. And now the picture which white wants to achieve is with knight on b3 and pawn on a2, which will produce checkmate. The only move which is forcing that to happen is knight c1. King cannot go back to a2, the only available move is a2, and knight b3 checkmates. So this is very rare situation, but you should know that it is possible that knight can win the game against single pawn. That would be all about this video chess lesson and all about basic endgames in general. Very soon I will publish a playlist which will consist of all 15 basic endgames chess lessons. And also, if you want to see any special content in my video chess lessons and on my channel, please don't forget to put any comment and don't forget to like, share my videos and subscribe to my channel.